No end in sight. Even with Title 42 still in place, the border crisis is worsening. CBP sources tell Fox News agents have encountered more than 617,000 migrants just since October. That's already more than all of fiscal year 2018, just 90 days. Meanwhile, large groups like this continue crossing in Del Rio and in Eagle Pass. The Texas National Guard is adding barbed wire to those container walls that's being constructed. Here to react, retired Border Patrol agent and former U.S. congressional candidate Frank Lopez Jr. Frank, thank you for taking time. What is your reaction to the fact that Texas DPS and National Guard are having to construct razor wire to try and supplement the failures of this administration's lack of enforcement on the border?
So, Griff, my initial reaction is quite honestly, look, these are token measures. And the reason I say that, because I've been to Eagle Pass where those container walls are at, and it's a very short distance. They're not more than a mile. And so all they're really doing is just funneling people to points where all these illegal aliens can turn themselves over to National Guard, DPS, eventually they're turned over to DHS, Border Patrol. And as we've seen, they're released into the country. So my initial reaction is it's not enough. Look, we need to defund this invasion. The Republican Congress it needs to defund the invasion. There's an extensive network of NGOs, contracts with bus companies that are working actually with foreign governments, the United Nations, to continuously funnel people into our country. We have to also enforce laws on the books. There have to be consequences for entering the country illegally.
Frank, the president just signed yesterday the omnibus bill, $1.7 trillion. In it, $0 to do just what you said, $0 for enforcement, $0. In fact, it specifically stipulates that money cannot be used to construct a border wall, which we know worked in strategic places under the Trump administration. And on page 753, there's $1.9 billion for specifically non-detention border management requirements, aka for transporting and processing.
Yes.
Your reaction?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Look, this government has become efficient at a massive smuggling operation. I worked in the Border Patrol for 30 years, and what we are seeing here, folks, is organized smuggling by the cartels, the NGOs, Biden administration officials, and this is going to have long-term consequences. Look, just in the span of the last 3 days in Brackettville, Texas, Kenny County, fleeing occupants of a bailout vehicle shot at law enforcement. Yesterday in Rock Springs, Texas, about 80 miles north of the border, people were trying to break into a house, about 4 of them, and there was a crash at the Uvalde checkpoint, and shots were fired at the occupants of that vehicle.
There are, Frank, and we covered that yesterday. And in fact, I've been holding up this week. This is one of the millions of bracelets that migrants drop. The cartels give it to them to indicate their pay levels, and it has a 4-digit code. It's Amazon efficient movement of smuggling people. Just quickly, in the time we've got left, about 30 seconds, tell me, based on your experience, what does it look like after Title 42 lifts?
Well, look, they're going to come. Title 42 has just been a speed bump for them. The word is out, and all these players, NGOs, foreign governments, our government, they are becoming more proficient at this, Griff. They're just going to pick up the speed, the tempo, and our government is building more processing centers.
All right, Frank Lopez Jr., thank you very much for your insight, and I think it's going to be something akin to chaos when that finally lifts. It's already out of control. A word of encouragement to the men and women in the green that try and enforce this border despite what they see as a lack of leadership. Frank Lopez Jr., thank you very much. Happy New Year.